You are not who you think you are. And if that sentence creates a tightening in your chest or a quiet resistance in your body, stay with me. That reaction is not accidental. It is your nervous system recognizing that something fundamental is about to be challenged. Because the version of you that learned to survive by feeling everything is reaching the end of its role. The empath is rising, and the world is not prepared for what follows. For a long time, you believed your sensitivity was your identity. You believed your depth of perception was your destiny. You believed your emotional awareness was simply who you were. But what if most of what you call empathy was actually adaptation? What if your intuition was once a safety strategy? What if your compassion was forged in chaos? And what if the part of you that learned to absorb everything is finally ready to evolve? In the next few minutes, I am going to tell you the truth about the empath identity. Not the romantic version, not the spiritualized version, the real one, the one rooted in nervous system conditioning, the one shaped by unpredictability, emotional responsibility, and early environments that required you to grow up too fast. And halfway through, I will give you one grounded action that shifts you from emotional absorption into emotional authority without shutting your heart down. Because what you are becoming is not colder, it is stronger, quieter, more sovereign, and far more powerful than the version of you that learned to survive by carrying the world. What is rising now is not the wounded empath, it is the integrated one. And once you recognize who you really are, you will never go back to shrinking for emotional safety again. Most people think being an empath means feeling deeply, but feeling deeply is not the same as being trained to monitor emotional environments. Many people who call themselves empaths are actually describing something else entirely. They are describing hyperattunement. They are describing scanning. They are describing the reflex to read micro shifts in tone, energy, and body language, because once upon a time, those shifts mattered. They meant danger. They meant safety. They meant whether love was available or withdrawn. They meant whether connection was stable or fragile. When you grow up in an environment where emotions are unpredictable, you do not just feel. You track, you study, you memorize, you learn patterns. You learn when a door closes softly versus when it slams. You learn the difference between silence that is safe and silence that is loaded. You learn what a sigh means, what a pause means, what a smile that does not reach the eyes means. Your nervous system becomes a radar. Later, in adulthood, you walk into rooms and you feel everything. You feel tension before words are spoken. You sense disconnection before anyone admits it. You anticipate conflict before it happens. You call it intuition. Sometimes it is, but often it is simply repetition. You were trained, and because you became exceptional at emotional reading, you built an identity around it. I am the one who understands. I am the one who notices. I am the one who feels what others feel. I am the one who holds the room together. But slowly, without realizing it, awareness became responsibility. You stopped just noticing pain. You started carrying it. You stopped just sensing discomfort. You started managing it. You stopped just perceiving emotional shifts. You started adjusting yourself around them. This is the unhealed empath. Not broken, not weak, not defective, over-adapting, over-functioning, over-responsible, quietly disappearing. You learned that safety came from being needed. You learned that belonging came from emotional labor. You learned that love was something you had to earn through attunement. So you became exceptional at holding space, at anticipating needs, at regulating others, at smoothing emotional terrain, and the world rewarded you for it. You became the one everyone came to, the one who listens, the one who understands, the one who carries the weight. But there is a cost to this role, because when you absorb everything, you lose yourself. When you regulate everyone, you abandon your own regulation. When you hold the world together, you fracture internally. And eventually, something in you begins to ache, a quiet exhaustion, a numbness after overgiving, a resentment you feel guilty for, a longing for space that you do not know how to claim. This is the beginning of the rise, the moment when your nervous system says, "We cannot do this anymore." Healing for an empath is disorienting, because the first thing that changes is not your sensitivity, it is your availability. You stop absorbing, you stop rushing to soothe, you stop translating other people's feelings for them, you stop performing emotional labor as proof of love. And the people who relied on you to regulate the emotional environment feel the shift. They say you changed. They say you are distant. They say you do not care like you used to. But what they are really experiencing is the absence of extraction. You are no longer a resource to be drained. You are no longer a container for unprocessed emotion. You are no longer the emotional buffer. And this is where many empaths panic. Because for the first time, your worth is no longer tied to how much you carry. A healed empath does not become insensitive. A healed empath becomes self-contained, not closed, contained. There is a difference. Closed is numb. Contained is grounded. Contained means you can feel without drowning. Contained means you can care without collapsing. Contained means you can be present without performing. This is emotional sovereignty, the ability to remain connected to yourself while in relationship with others, the ability to witness emotion without absorbing it, the ability to offer compassion without abandoning yourself, the ability to love without disappearing. This is what rises. Here is the truth most people never tell you. The empath role was never meant to be permanent. It was a bridge, a survival intelligence, a training ground. Your nervous system learned how to feel deeply because it had to. Your awareness sharpened because it protected you. Your compassion expanded because connection once depended on it. But survival strategies are not identities. They are adaptations. And adaptations evolve. What you are becoming now is not less sensitive. You are becoming more regulated, not less caring, more boundaried, not less loving, more rooted. The rising empath does not disappear into others. They stand with themselves. They stop apologizing for their presence. They stop shrinking for emotional safety. They stop contorting to be chosen. They no longer chase connection. They become grounded enough to attract it. They no longer scan for danger. They learn to trust their capacity. They no longer absorb chaos. They become calm inside it. This is nervous system leadership, the ability to bring coherence into emotional space simply by being regulated. People feel safe around you, not because you carry them, but because you do not collapse. This is what the world is not prepared for. A generation of empaths who no longer abandon themselves. Now let me give you the shift. The one action that begins the transition from emotional absorbing to emotional authority. It is simple, but it is powerful. The next time you feel someone else's emotion move through your body, pause. Do not analyze, do not fix, do not soothe, just notice. And say internally, "This is not mine to carry." Then place one hand on your chest and one on your belly. Breathe slowly. Long exhale. Let your body settle. You are teaching your nervous system that empathy does not require self-abandonment. You are teaching your body that awareness does not mean responsibility. This is how sovereignty is built, one moment at a time. You are not here to save the world. You are here to stand in it fully, rooted, present, regulated. The empath is rising, not as a martyr, not as a caretaker, not as an emotional container, but as a grounded force, a calm nervous system in a dysregulated world, a steady presence in emotional storms, a mirror that invites others to rise. You are not here to carry the weight. You are here to walk upright. This is your new identity. I am emotionally sovereign. I am grounded in my body. I feel deeply without losing myself. I care without collapsing. I love without disappearing. Return to this. This is who you are becoming. And the world is not prepared, but you are. You are not here to carry the weight. You are here to walk upright. This is your new identity. I am emotionally sovereign. I am grounded in my body. I feel deeply without losing myself. I care without collapsing. I love without disappearing. Now let us go deeper, because identity does not shift from a single insight. It shifts through repetition, through awareness applied moment by moment, through becoming familiar with a new way of being inside your own nervous system. If you want to rise into the version of yourself that the world is not prepared for, you need more than realization. You need familiarity. You need practice. And you need compassionate honesty about what has kept you small. The first barrier most empaths face is old survival beliefs. You learned early on that sensitivity equals vulnerability. So you protected yourself by anticipating others. You learned that caring deeply meant minimizing risk, so you became vigilant. You learned that emotional attunement kept connection alive, so you made yourself available even at your own expense. These habits were necessary once, but necessity is not destiny, and survival strategies are not identities. To become who you are rising into, you have to learn a new relationship with emotion, not avoidance, not suppression, not absorption, but regulation. Regulation means you feel without becoming overwhelmed. It means you connect without self-erasing. It means you show up without overfunctioning. The difference between absorption and regulation is not intellectual. It is bodily. Absorption is felt in the chest, throat, or gut as compulsion. Regulation feels like groundedness, like presence, like breath. So there is a practice for this. Begin with noticing where you feel emotion in your body. Do not follow the story. Do not chase the meaning. Just notice the sensation. Name it: warmth, tightness, fluttering, calm. Then breathe into it. Slow exhale. Let the sensation soften. This trains your nervous system to feel without being hijacked by the experience. This is how the rising empath learns to be anchored, not numb, not shut down, anchored, because the world needs people who can feel deeply and stay regulated, not caretakers who collapse under the emotional weight, not people whose sense of self dissolves in relationship, but people who bring coherence, stability, clarity. This is the new role. The world needs this version of sensitivity right now more than ever, because we live in an emotional environment that rewards reactivity, drama, overwhelm, and external validation. But what the world truly lacks is grounded presence, people who can feel without contagion, people who can witness without taking on, people who can connect without losing themselves. This is who you are becoming. This is what it means to rise. And it begins with claiming your nervous system as your own, not as something to be managed by others, but as something you steward with intention. So here is the second action step. When you notice someone's emotion rising around you, inside you, notice this. Where in your body do you feel the pull to absorb? Is it your chest, your throat, your gut? Now pause and do not act. Do not take responsibility. Do not soothe. Just breathe into the sensation. Open your body toward it. Let it be felt without translating it. This is the practice of boundary within empathy. It is not shutting down. It is showing up. It is not detaching. It is anchoring. And with each repetition, your identity shifts from someone who reacts to someone who responds, from someone who carries to someone who clarifies, from someone who dissolves to someone who stands steady. This is the rise. But there is one final truth you must integrate. Your sensitivity is not a burden. It is an asset. Not because it makes you feel more than others, but because it taught you how to understand emotional nuance, because it taught you how to read what is unspoken, because it taught you how to notice what others overlook. Your depth is not a problem. It is a gift that becomes powerful not when it is sacrificed for others, but when it is anchored in your own regulation. This is what the world is not prepared for. A generation of empaths who do not collapse, who do not overfunction, who do not absorb, but who lead with clarity, stand in calm, feel without losing themselves. This is the rise of the grounded empath. This is your next identity, and you are stepping into it now. Return to your breath. Return to your body. Return to the sensation of presence, because this is where empathy becomes strength. This is where sensitivity becomes sovereignty. This is where your heart becomes a resource, not a roadmap. This is who you are becoming. And the world, unprepared as it is, will have no choice but to witness your rise. You are not rising into a louder version of yourself. You are rising into a steadier one. And that distinction matters more than you realize, because the world is full of noise. It is full of urgency. It is full of emotional volatility. It is full of people moving from impulse instead of presence. What it lacks is coherence. What it lacks is nervous systems that can stay open under pressure. What it lacks is people who can feel deeply without being swept away. What it lacks is emotional leadership. And that is what the rising empath becomes. Not a rescuer, not a healer for everyone else. Not the one who carries what others refuse to face, but the one who models what regulation looks like. The one who shows, without preaching, what it means to be grounded in chaos. The one who brings calm into rooms that are wired for reactivity. The one who stays connected to themselves no matter what is happening around them. This is a quiet power. It does not demand attention. It does not chase validation. It does not need to prove itself. It simply exists. And because it exists, it changes the field around it. This is how nervous systems work. Human beings regulate in relationship. We mirror each other. We co-regulate. We entrain to the emotional tone of those around us. So when you walk into a room grounded, present, and embodied, something shifts. People feel it before they understand it. They relax without knowing why. They open without trying. They soften in your presence, not because you are fixing them, but because you are not abandoning yourself. This is the paradox of healing. When you stop trying to carry others, you become someone others can lean into, not for emotional extraction, but for stability. This is the new archetype, the grounded empath, the regulated feeler, the emotionally sovereign human. And this identity does not come from affirmations. It comes from embodiment. It comes from learning how to stay in your body when emotion rises. It comes from learning how to stay present when intensity appears. It comes from learning how to choose yourself without closing your heart. This is the work, and it is subtle. At first, you will notice moments where you want to rush in and fix, where you feel the pull to soothe, where you feel responsible for other people's discomfort. This is not failure. This is conditioning. Your nervous system is simply replaying what it learned. So meet it with compassion. Say internally, "Thank you for trying to protect me, but I am safe now." Then return to your breath. Return to your body. Return to your center. This is how the old identity loosens, not through force, but through consistency. Because your nervous system does not respond to logic. It responds to experience. And every time you stay present instead of collapsing, every time you choose regulation over absorption, every time you hold yourself instead of holding everyone else, you rewrite the pattern. You teach your body a new truth. I can feel without being overwhelmed. I can care without disappearing. I can stay connected without losing myself. This is how identity transforms, not overnight, but moment by moment, breath by breath, choice by choice, and eventually something inside you settles. The hypervigilance softens, the scanning quiets, the tension releases. You stop bracing for emotional impact. You start trusting your capacity. You realize that you are no longer living in the environment that shaped you. You are no longer the child who had to read the room to stay safe. You are no longer the one who had to manage emotions to survive. You are here now, in your body, in your life, in your agency, and you are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to have boundaries. You are allowed to say no without guilt. You are allowed to choose peace without apology. This is not selfish. This is self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of true empathy. Because empathy without self-respect becomes self-erasure. But empathy rooted in sovereignty becomes power. This is the rise, not into hardness, not into indifference, not into emotional distance, but into grounded presence, into embodied awareness, into emotional leadership. So if you feel something shifting inside you, that is real. If you feel a quiet strength emerging, that is real. If you feel a sense of coming home to yourself, that is real. You are not becoming less, you are becoming whole. And the world is not prepared for people who are whole, because whole people do not tolerate manipulation. They do not abandon themselves for approval. They do not contort to be chosen. They choose themselves first. And from that place, they connect more deeply than ever before. This is your new identity. I am grounded. I am present. I am emotionally sovereign. I feel deeply and stand firmly. I care fully and remain whole. Return to this again and again, because this is who you are now, and this is who you are becoming. The empath is rising, and this time you rise rooted, you rise regulated, you rise unshakable, you rise whole. You are not rising to escape your sensitivity. You are rising to inhabit it fully. For most of your life, your depth lived outside of you. It lived in other people's moods, in their needs, in their reactions, in their pain. Your awareness pointed outward because that is where safety once lived. But now, something is turning inward. Now your nervous system is learning a new orientation. Safety is not in anticipation. Safety is not in control. Safety is not in emotional labor. Safety is in embodiment. It is in the feeling of your feet on the ground. It is in the rhythm of your breath. It is in the weight of your body in the chair. It is in the quiet knowing that you can be with what arises without being consumed by it. This is what regulation actually is. Not calm all the time, not positivity, not detachment. Regulation is capacity. The capacity to feel a wide range of emotion without losing your center. The capacity to stay present when discomfort appears. The capacity to remain connected to yourself when old patterns are activated. This is the work of the rising empath, and it is deeply embodied. You cannot think your way into this identity. You have to feel your way into it, because your nervous system does not speak in language. It speaks in sensation. So begin to listen. Notice what happens in your body when someone is upset around you. Notice the tightening, the urge to fix, the pull to soothe. And instead of following the impulse outward, bring your attention inward. Feel your breath. Feel your spine. Feel your weight. Let your body know, I am here. I am safe. I am not required to disappear. This is how you build inner authority. Authority not over others, but over your own emotional field. This is what it means to be self-led. And when you become self-led, something remarkable happens. You stop chasing connection. You stop proving your worth. You stop negotiating your boundaries. You become selective. You become discerning. You begin to choose relationships that meet you in presence rather than demand your depletion. You begin to notice who feels nourishing and who feels draining. You begin to trust your body's wisdom. This is not withdrawal. This is clarity. And clarity is the foundation of true intimacy, because intimacy requires two whole people, not one who gives and one who takes, not one who carries and one who collapses, but two nervous systems that can meet without consuming each other. This is the new relational paradigm. The grounded empath does not bond through trauma. They bond through presence. They do not attach through overgiving. They attach through mutual regulation. They do not earn love through sacrifice. They build love through safety. This is the shift that changes everything. And yes, it will feel unfamiliar at first, because chaos once felt like home. Intensity once felt like connection. Overfunctioning once felt like love. So when things become calm, your nervous system may feel restless. When relationships become steady, your body may search for the edge. This is not because calm is wrong. It is because your system is learning a new normal. So be patient. Your body is unlearning years of conditioning. And every time you choose regulation over reaction, every time you choose presence over performance, every time you choose yourself over self-erasure, you strengthen the new identity. You become someone your younger self needed, someone who does not disappear, someone who does not abandon themselves, someone who stays. This is the real healing. Not becoming someone else, but becoming yourself. The version of you that was always there beneath the adaptation. The version of you that does not need to earn safety. The version of you that knows they belong. You are not rising to become extraordinary. You are rising to become integrated. And integration is power. Because integrated people cannot be manipulated through guilt. They cannot be controlled through fear. They cannot be hooked through emotional chaos. They see clearly, they feel fully, they stand firmly. This is what the world is not prepared for. People who feel deeply and refuse to be used. People who care without collapsing. People who love without losing themselves. This is the new empath. Not a sponge, not a sacrifice, but a source of presence, a source of stability, a source of grounded compassion. So if you feel a quiet strength settling into your bones, let it. If you feel a new steadiness in your chest, trust it. If you feel a deeper connection to yourself than ever before, honor it. This is not you becoming colder. This is you becoming anchored. This is you becoming sovereign. This is you becoming who you were always meant to be. The empath is rising, and this time you rise whole.